Morning. Back. Well, I took last week off with live stream. We're back this week to talk about Texas. Carson Hocevar on the pole. William Byron on the outside pole. Oh, man, this is an interesting slate because there's a lot of ways to go. And then we have the unpredictability of Texas itself and the inability to pass at this track. So there are a lot of things to consider when building lineups this week, when betting this week. If you listen to Stacking Denny's earlier this week, you know, Nick and I were both very not adamant, but you know, not really interested in early betting this week. Maybe finding some value, you know, after practice and qualifying, but live betting might be where it's at. Just because Texas right now has the rep as one of the worst tracks on the schedule, and it's getting better. You know, it's improving a bit, but it's still a very, very tight racing surface. We typically get a lot of natural cautions here. A lot of, you know, drivers having some issues. So those things are quite difficult to try and predict when it comes to building DFS lineups. Not to mention, we have a ton of place differential plays this week. We got Chase Elliott, who's underpriced on DraftKings and starting back 29th. Got Brad Keselowski starting 30th. Been a disappointment all year, but he has shown speed at intermediates. Ryan Preece starting back there, you know, another Roush Fenway Keselowski Ford. They typically have some good speed here. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting 34th, right behind Preece. Preece starts 33rd. You know, Stenhouse has been a place differential king all season. And these mile and a halves is kind of where he methodically kind of moves up throughout the race and ends up top 20. So when you have a $6,200 driver on DraftKings starting 34th with top 20 potential, you know, you need to have good exposure to him. Not to mention Joey Logano starting 27th had a bad, or he went out early in qualifying, so wasn't able to put up that good of a lap. Same thing with Keselowski. Same thing with Ryan Blaney, who's starting back in 24th. You know, they're all probably better than where they're starting. They just had a bad qualifying draw because of the results last week at Talladega, with Logano being DQ'd. So you got all those guys starting, you know, 24th or worse. And it really brings in what kind of domination we're going to see. So if you remember back to the Texas race last year, Kyle Larson, I forget where he started last year. I want to say he started 4th, just like he does this weekend. But dominant car all day, had a tire issue, ended up finishing 21st, and you know, obviously didn't make the optimal, but he would have if he wouldn't have that tire issue, most likely. But the thing today is, and with how hard it is to pass, and with all of these place differential options in this race, the main thing to consider here is what is the gap between the dominator potential of someone like a Kyle Larson and someone like a William Byron to the place differential points. Because someone like Chase Elliott getting 25 place differential points with a top 5 finish is worth more than going all in on Larson, who might not get those dominator points, who might run 3rd all day. So I don't think, you know, outside of obviously if we have one main dominator today, that is going to be the play. And that, I mean, like that's, you're going to have him. But for a lot of, like, specifically for cash games, I am not against focusing mainly on place differential today because there's so many points out there that can be made, and then it just comes down to tweaking and maybe minor pivots off of certain guys that could potentially get into the optimal lineup. Because who's to say that someone like Tyler Reddick starting 17th isn't going to be the dominator today? Also, going off of Byron and Larson starting up front, like obviously, Byron starts second, Larson qualified fourth. They're most likely to dominate early. But what if Hocevar goes out there and leads 50 laps, and let's say then falls back to 10th? Hocevar, he's a little overpriced this week at 7,200. Or no, not 72. He's 74. And then starting on the pole, what if he takes away those 50 laps? That's 50 less laps potentially for a Larson to get laps led, or a Byron or fastest laps like that. And then Hocevar is probably going to lose those fastest laps by falling back to 10th or whatever. A top 10 run out of him would be a good race for Hocevar. I don't see Hocevar leading 100 plus laps today. Could I see him leading 40, 50? Yeah. I mean, that car was good in practice. That car was obviously fast in qualifying. They showed speed. They were really good at Las Vegas once they finally got track position, if you remember back. They're obviously good at Bristol, which doesn't really matter to this race. But, Hocevar has speed. He also has a shitty pit crew, and track position is king at Texas. So if he's out early leading these laps, he's just taking them away from someone like a Kyle Larson or someone like a William Byron or maybe even an Austin Cindric. And it's essentially, in a way, if he falls back, it's taking those dominator points off the table, which then gets the place differential points even more significant. So I'm perfectly fine. Like, I think safe-wise, you can build lineups today that are pure place differential and still have race-winning contenders that get up there, can get laps led. Someone like a Tyler Reddick, someone like a Ryan Blaney, and you don't need to go the Larson route. Now, obviously, I think Larson's going to be a really good pick today. He projects really well in my projections today, but I don't think he's a must-have. I don't think Byron's a must-have. I think Cindric is a very sneaky play if you go against Byron and Larson. And if you really want to get aggressive, going maybe Cindric and Larson or Cindric and Byron, and then filling out place differential the rest of the way. That could be a way to go. I'm not totally sold on Hocevar, even though he's on the pole. I'm not totally sold on him. But Cindric, if you remember back to Vegas, Cindric had one of the best cars at Vegas. Led 47 laps, finished sixth. The Penske Fords have good long run speed. We saw it all over in practice. Blaney had a good long run speed. Logano had good long run speed. Cindric's going to have good long run speed. Cindric has the track position to start the race. So if he gets the lead, I think Cindric can be a great play. I'm on him on my bets. I was on him early in the week. I bet him top 5 early in the week at 20-1. He opened up at 3-1 for a top 10 after qualifying. Absolutely. I wish Hard Rock would have let me get more down on that, but thankful that I was able to bet it. But that's kind of where, I'm not completely sold. Just to wrap this all up, this little diatribe I've been on, I'm not completely sold that Larson and or Byron are must-haves today, because there's so many points out there with the place differential. And then it just comes down to who do you kind of, how do you fit all these puzzle pieces together? Because there are a lot of very good options and they fit together nicely. Buescher, I love Chris Buescher today. I think he has a great car. I think he can, I'm not going to bet him outright right now. But I could definitely see myself betting him outright in the race. Remember, Buescher is sneaky good at intermediate tracks, especially when he has a decently good qualifying effort, because that team typically doesn't qualify well. So in him starting 12th, he looked really good in practice. So I like Buescher today. I really do. Now, am I going super heavy on him in DFS? Probably not super heavy, but I bet I'm going to be overweight to the field, especially when you got guys like Ty Gibbs right above him in that price range, who a lot of people are on Ty Gibbs today. A lot of people are on Ross Chastain today, obviously starting 31st. I didn't even talk about him earlier with all the guys starting back there. But Ross Chastain's a good place differential play. And then you got Keselowski and Hocevar right underneath, and Cindric right underneath Buescher in the driver list. I think Buescher's a sneaky play today. I really do. Allmendinger or Haley even playable? Yeah, absolutely. Dinger is quite risky, but his price isn't that great. And that's what kind of worries me about Dinger. I would much rather go Haley at 5,700. He's got a good track record, a good finish record, let's say, at Texas. Him starting 15th. The question is Spire going to come out and actually have speed, or are they going to shit the bed like they did at Las Vegas? Obviously, Texas, 1.5 mile track. Closest comparison to what we raced at this year, or what we've raced at this year, would be Las Vegas. Spire was shit at Las Vegas, even though they had speed. I mean, McDowell was on the pole at Vegas and just garbage. So that's what I'm kind of worried about with not only Hocevar, but even Haley. But yeah, I do think Haley can be a sneaky top 10 today. I bet him earlier in the week on FanDuel, I think at 12-1 for a top 10. I'm perfectly fine with that. And I'm perfectly fine at leveraging that and having that bet in my back pocket and not being forced to try and get Haley into DFS lineups and going overweight on him there, because I have that bet. So if he finishes top 10, I'll be good. Now, obviously not everybody's in that situation, but this is my line of thinking with Haley this week. I don't see the need to go super heavy on Haley. I'd rather just stick with my bet. If I can fit him in there, I'm going to have some exposure. But honestly, if we're digging down that far and we're not going with a Stenhouse down there, or we're not going with, an Austin Dillon, give me, or even like a John Hunter Nemechek, to be honest with you, give me Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon leaves you a ton of cap space this week. $5,100. He qualified 23rd. So people are, there we go. Right there, Andrew. We're right on the same page. Ty Dillon. He has not finished worse than like 18th at Texas in the next-gen car. He's ran all 3 next-gen races here at Texas. He has that ability to just ride around all day, stay out of trouble, and be there at the end. Him starting 23rd, if it is difficult to pass, if it is that difficult to pass at Texas, starting 23rd isn't that bad, because it's going to help him stay on the lead lap. So if there ends up being 20 cars on the lead lap by the end of this thing, Ty Dillon, all he has to do is make a couple passes and he's in the teens. Getting that out of a $5,100 driver to stack the top up here, Ty Dillon might be like, I love that play this week. I do. Thoughts on Cindric top 4, 10-1. Where are you getting 10-1 at? I would bet that if I saw that. Where's he 10-1 at? So yeah, I do like it. Is Bowman playable? Absolutely. Bowman has been one of the most consistently fast guys on intermediate tracks in this next gen era. Starting 11th, not super high priced. I would consider Bowman a solid pivot off of Chastain and even off of Bubba Wallace, because I think a lot of people are going to be on Bubba today, and rightfully so. He's been really good here at Texas in the past. Practice-wise, Bowman was 7th fastest. Bubba was 18th. Yeah, Cindric was 30-1 outright last night at FanDuel. I thought about sprinkling on it. Never end up. Oh, my phone. My phone just brick. Yeah, I honestly don't mind 30-1 at FanDuel for Cindric if it's still there. I think he's got a good car today. Cindric's still 30-1. I like it. Yeah, I seen this at Bristol. Chastain's car was off when practice and qualifying. Yeah, honestly, if you go back to Bristol, you look at fastest laps and you look at the lap times throughout that race, Chastain had one of the best cars. If he would have, I don't think he could have beat Larson, but if he would have had a little bit of better track position anywhere at any point during that race, he would have been a solid top 3 car. There's no doubt in my mind. Chastain had a really good car at Bristol. I think Chastain's going to have a really good car today. He's another one that's underpriced. You know, we got Chase Elliott and Chastain starting way back there, and they're both underpriced. I mean, their ownerships are going to be sky high. Let's all right. Thoughts on Suarez? I mean, yeah. My projections really like Daniel Suarez today. We can start there. I think he's in my optimal projected lineup. Let's see here. Sorry, Cindric is 8. Yeah, Cindric 8-1. I still don't mind 8-1, but 10-1 I would have jumped on. Confused that with Bowman as top Chevy 10-1. My problem with taking Bowman top Chevy, I mean, obviously he's got to beat Kyle Larson, and that's going to be tough. He's got to beat Byron, and that's going to be like the chances of him 10-1 is not worth it to me for him to beat Larson and Byron, even just those two. But then you add in Hocevar, Chase Elliott, you know, the rest of the entire Chevy fleet, Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez, you know, if they can get track position late. 10-1 isn't good enough for me to bite on Bowman. I do think he's going to be strong. He had one of the best cars at Vegas. If you remember that race, Bowman had one of the best cars at Vegas. But I'm not, I don't, it's very difficult for me to see him to see enough. I'm going to say enough things happening for him to beat out Byron, Larson, Elliott, like all of his teammates and the rest of the Chevy fleet. I'd maybe consider it if Bowman was like 15-1. Briscoe, yeah, Briscoe's one of those, man. They're kind of like Kyle Larson. So Kyle Larson has this habit of getting his car in practice, getting it to continually improving it from practice through the race. And that's kind of what is happening, I've noticed, with this 19 team and Chase Briscoe. They're really not firing off the weekend strong with speed. But at the end of the races, if they get it right, they'll be there. Now, I will note, you know, at $9,300 starting 22nd, you know what? If you want to pivot off of Logano or pivot off of Chase Elliott, Briscoe could be the guy. I just think both of those guys have there's a pretty big gap from their ceilings to Briscoe's ceilings. So if those two have issues, then yeah, the pivot's the right play. But even then, I think Briscoe is probably like a 10th place. Concern with Chastain's practice speed? No. This happens quite frequently with them where they don't show anything in practice. So no. His track record here at Texas is perfectly fine. I'm not too worried about it. Remember, he was running like second or third, I think, last year in this Texas race and got wrecked on that last lap. And he was also top 5 at Vegas this year. Oh, I saw a lineup up here. Okay. Yeah, let's do. So you got Larson, Reddick, Cindric. I'm going to assume that that's Priest, Keselowski, and Suarez. I don't mind it at all. Like, yeah, I was talking before, going if you want to get aggressive and go with that, go with the, Larson and Cindric play there. My problem with I'm not 100% sure what Tyler Reddick we're going to see here because I keep flashing back to the races this year that I thought, like we all thought that Reddick should have been really good at, and he was good, but he's not the Reddick that we knew. You think back to Las Vegas, and he wasn't that good. You think back to Homestead, and he was good, but he wasn't Reddick good. So I think that team is struggling a little bit to fully find speed, and I think he can get up there and challenge for a top 5, but is most likely like a 7th to or 6th to 9th place driver outside of something, something happening, and like you never really know what's gonna happen at Texas. But even like Darlington, we expected a little bit more out of him at Darlington. Homestead, he finished 8th. But obviously, starting 17th, Cindric is not a bad play at all. I don't mind this lineup at all for a Larson Cindric play. If you did want to get off a Reddick, you could always jump down to Blaney if you wanted to go something like that. I'm curious what you could do here is if you went off a Reddick down to the problem going to like a Chase Elliott is this is going to get super chalky. I think you're much less likely to have duplicated lineups if you go Reddick or if you go Blaney here. But it leaves you 1,300 to play with. Yeah, this is a much chalkier build here, but this is another Larson Cindric kind of build. So you go Larson Cindric, Chastain, Keselowski, Priest, Chase Elliott. Where is my and you could also run with Blaney in there, like I said before. This does stay away from Stenhouse. Which I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people go with like a lineup like this. Instead of Cindric, they go down to Stenhouse, and then instead of Elliott, they go to Blaney. So you go Larson, Blaney, Chastain, Keselowski, Priest, Stenhouse. I think that's what a lot of people like. That kind of build is what a lot of people are going to be fighting with or deciding with today for cash games. But tournament wise, and you want to get Cindric in there, I like something like this. Or go in the Reddick route too. Have a preference between Logano, Elliott, and Blaney. Elliott just because of the price. Like his price per or his projected points per dollar are a good good bit better, especially than Logano. I would put Chase and Blaney quite similar when it comes to value. And then Logano's a little bit further behind. I think Logano's cap or ceiling is about 12th. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Childers. I'd honestly be shocked if he was able to sign with another team right now. I find it hard to believe that Spire would let him go and not have a non-compete. But then again, I didn't even consider that he was going to be let go. That news was very surprising to me. Most likely place differential play to pivot away from. I honestly don't. That's a really good question. Mine would probably be, and it kind of depends what the entire group of place differential plays we're considering here, but mine would probably be Reddick. Hey, Sean. Byron, Blaney, Elliott, Busher, Stenhouse, Haley. Interesting. Yeah. I think that would definitely be unique. I mean, obviously you're leaving quite a bit of salary on the table there. But I like it. I honestly, and maybe this is overthinking this, but I don't mind jumping up and grabbing Hamlin. I just have this weird feeling that Hamlin is gonna win this race. And I don't mind betting him top Toyota today. I think it's like plus 350. But I can I think you could go either way or like any way there. You could go Hamlin, you could go Reddick, you could go Blaney, and you'd be solid. And man, that keeps you away from a lot. Like this is definitely going to be a unique lineup. Keeps you away from Chastain, Keselowski, Priest, all of them. Could also throw Logano in there if you wanted to go that route. There's a lot of ways you can go here. Cheapest driver that has a legitimate chance to win. I mean, with Texas, it's pretty It's pretty wide open. I think Cindric's going to be the one though for me. Yeah, I think Cindric's going to. I do think Cindric's going to be a pretty good contender today. So Cindric is my pick for that. Happy with the projected optimal? Yeah. So projected optimal is. Pull it up quick. So the projected optimal for me is Larson, Elliott, Chastain, Keselowski, Priest, and Suarez. And yeah, I have no issue with this. The second highest one is also pretty solid in my opinion. Make sure I enter that one. And then, by the way, if you want to get into my contest today, I'll throw it in the comments early. There's a link for you. Just do that in the comments. So optimal projected was Larson, Elliott, Chastain, Kez. And this is all just, like I said, place differential, and then Larson leading the most laps is how this hits. And then Suarez. The second highest projected lineup today goes off of Suarez down to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And then instead of Chase Elliott, jumps up to Ryan Blaney. Which to me, I think Chase Elliott's going to be the highest owned driver on the slate. So I'd like to not limit my exposure, but be underweight, probably. But you could also come off a Priest here and go down to Suarez if you didn't want it super chalky. Because to me, this is still quite chalky. To take a little bit of pressure off of that, you could come down to Suarez off of Priest. But there's a lot of things you can do with these lineups. And I'm going to enter this one quick to have it locked in. By coming down to, with both of those coming down to Ty Dillon off of one of the other drivers. Yeah, I like Hamlin plus 170 top 5. I wish Hard Rock would let me get down more than $20. That's the max they're letting me place right now. And yeah, it looks like Hamlin's still available there at plus 170 for a top 5. See where he's at on ESPN Bet. And plus 140 there. Brad Priest or Ross, best place differential play. Any of you avoiding? I'm really not avoiding any place differential plays. I think they're all solid. But let's go back to, so if we go like the optimal projected of Larson, Chase, Chastain, Kez, Suarez. You know, you could easily swap that out there and go Busher over Kez. And then just going to play around with this here. So if you go down to Ty Dillon, oh, so you go Larson, Reddick, Chase Elliott, Busher, Suarez, Ty Dillon. You could also go Cindric here. So you go Hocevar, Hamlin, Reddick, Elliott, Busher, Ty Dillon. You could also go Cindric. If you wanted to. If you wanted to over Hocevar. That's what's tough. You like if you're going against Larson and Byron, and who's to say you don't go both Hocevar and Cindric? That would be kind of wild too. But I could see myself doing something like this to get the pole sitter and then potentially get someone like a Hamlin in there. You went Cindric, Gibbs, Hamlin, Reddick, Elliott, Ty Dillon. I actually don't mind that. I'm going to put that one in. So you go Reddick, Elliott, Hamlin. Ty Gibbs, Austin Cindric, Ty Dillon. Or do you jump off of like a Cindric and grab the place differential play of Priest? There's a lot of ways to go here for sure. Or do you go Hocevar, Busher? I think I might rather go Hocevar, Busher here. But is that too far out? The problem with Busher is like, yeah, I don't mind that. Yeah. All right. So yeah, Reddick, Hamlin, Elliott. Busher, Hocevar, Ty Dillon. All right. Very worth a look. I mean, probably. You need some exposure, I'd say. So he was like the other Penske Fords in where their long run speed looked pretty good. Sixth in single lap speed. I just don't think I can play him at 7,700. I'd rather go Busher or Gibbs. Doesn't sound like anyone's playing Bell. Yeah, I'm not there on Bell. He's one of those guys that I think could get. He's probably like a 10th place car. Could he get to the top 5? Yeah. Nobody's going to be playing him though because he's surrounded right there in that price range by the 2 Penske cars starting much further back. I don't think Bell has the Dominator upside to be too heavy on him. But yeah, I have him projection wise. I have Bell at 16%, and that's probably still. He's probably going to be lower than that. Logano, Chastain, or Reddick, Keselowski for cash. Reddick, Kes. And yeah, like this will be the week that Bell goes out and leads 50 laps. I'm curious what my projections, like some lineups that my projections like with Bell forced in them. What if we do something like this? Go Larson, Bell, Chastain, Busher, Priest, Stenhouse. Get you off of Chase Elliott, get you off of Kes, but you still have the upsides there with Priest, Chastain, and then, Stenhouse. If you didn't want to go Stenhouse, you could go down Ty Dillon, and then Briscoe or Chase Elliott off of Chastain. I'm trying to look at or see a strong Toyota lineup. I saw a comment on here about Eric Jones. Oh, I thought I could get Jones with that. I was wrong. If you go Reddick, Hamlin, Bell. Reddick, Hamlin, Bell, Gibbs, Stenhouse, Ty Dillon. Or you could jump down to Briscoe off of Bell. This also opens the door of putting like a John Hunter Nemechek. Nemechek was 16th in 20 lap average. Honestly, isn't that awful. It allows you to stick with Stenhouse if you wanted to, or Austin Dillon. Where is Austin Dillon on this chart? Oh, he didn't even make a long run, did he? Kyle Busch looked decent on the long runs, but nothing spectacular. So yeah, I think I'd rather go Stenhouse here. Kind of like a Toyota build. I think this one would be super low owned. Let's see here. You could also hit Logano if you didn't want Briscoe. Yeah, Herbst is kind of similar to Ty Dillon. But he'll be less owned than Ty Dillon even. But if you go Herbst over Nemechek here, that's how you can get Bell. Herbst ran 19th at Vegas. I think I like Bell over Briscoe. That's my problem. I'm talking myself into Bell quite a bit today. But yeah, I'm going to go with this one for my Toyota line. Instead of Briscoe. I don't trust Briscoe. I mean, obviously he has higher place differential upside than Bell, but man, that's tough. Let's see here. Reddick, Gibbs, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Riley Herbst, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. But this is the kind of lineup you can come up with a track like Texas because it is so like this isn't cut and dry. This isn't a cut and dry slate. There's so many ways to go with this. And it's the same mindset with Nemechek. It's kind of you're just hoping whichever one has a little bit of luck because you could also, you could stick with Hamlin, Reddick, jump down to Briscoe. I do think Stenhouse is going to be a strong play today, and then Nemechek. I get you to Chastain too. If you didn't want to go Gibbs. But yeah, similar thing here. If you didn't want to go. So you're essentially just going you're going Nemechek and Briscoe instead of Bell and Herbst. Yeah, if you remember back to this race last year with Gibbs, he had a really strong car, but then I think he had a tire issue or he had something go on. But yeah, Gibbs is always kind of like a top 5 threat at these tracks. All right. Byron Elliott. So Larson and Byron in the same line. Larson, Byron, Elliott, Chastain, Ty Dillon, John Hernimchek. I can see where it gets there for sure. I'd almost be inclined to go with a full Hendrick stack here and go Bowman. Obviously, like Chastain's a solid place differential play for sure. But I don't mind going full HMS here and even going Haley there. But Nemechek's probably the safer option there. If I went Haley, I'd probably go Chastain. So yeah, Larson, Byron, Elliott. Larson, Byron, Elliott, Chastain, Justin Haley, and Ty Dillon. What if we did like a Blaney, Elliott, Chastain? Let's go down to Stenhouse. There's this 83 up there. Now, what if we went? Byron, Elliott, Chastain, Stenhouse, Bowman, Hocevar. And if you didn't want to go Hocevar, you could just jump off and go to Cindric or Priest, Suarez. You could also go Larson in this lineup. So you go Elliott, Byron, Chastain, Stenhouse, Suarez, Bowman. I think the key today is going to be diversifying. It's real easy to get stuck into, and I know I have a ton of Chase Elliott lineups here, but it's real easy to get stuck into going that route. So yeah, if you go Larson, again, Elliott, Bowman, Chastain, Stenhouse. Yeah, then you go Priest or Suarez or Cindric if you wanted to. There's definitely opportunity to lost my train of thought there for a second. You go Larson. What if we did this? Oh, $100 short. So you go Hamlin, Reddick, Gibbs. Suarez, Chastain, Stenhouse. All right. How many Dominators are targeting? I would probably have at least one, maybe two. The problem is, like, these place differential plays could still end up being Dominators, so it's tough. I do think you're targeting one or two. Some lineups with three. Byron, Bowman, Chastain, Elliott, Stenhouse. Cindric. I'd probably go Priest. I mean, you can go however you want. Man, this is a tough slate. I'm not gonna lie. All right, so you go Byron Bowman, Chastain, Elliott, Stenhouse, Suarez. Yeah. I think I'd rather go Priest there too instead of Cindric. I'll run this optimizer for a bit, see some random ones that we can come out. If you have any questions, make sure you throw them in the comments. But yeah, Texas is I think that's a reason people don't like it as much and why it kind of gets the, it being a bad track is because it is super difficult to pass, but it makes it unpredictable, and people don't like unpredictability when it's not like a Daytona or Talladega. Like people get entertained by the wrecks at Daytona and Talladega, and you don't really have those at Texas, obviously. Kozlowski thoughts. He's one of my highest projected this week. I'm curious to see what kind of ownership he draws just because people aren't really trusting him. Hamlin and Larson in the same lineup. Is that too far-fetched? Let's do that. Let's see what we can come up with. I think if you're going Hamlin and Larson in there, you're going to need to grab Stenhouse to save some cap space. I'm not sure right now if you'd have to go as far as like a Ty Dillon. We'll see here. So if you grab Stenhouse, let's throw a Priest on here to see what it looks like. Let's see what my optimal or like some of my projected good lineups are with Hamlin and Larson forced. So the top one forced with Larson and Hamlin, it'd go Hamlin, Larson, Chastain, Priest, Suarez, Stenhouse, which I like. Obviously, I don't mind that at all. That's pretty damn solid to me. Yeah, so you go Larson, Hamlin, Chastain, Priest. Suarez, Stenhouse. Could also come off a Priest and go to Cindric if you wanted to there. But I do think it's tough going 3 guys starting top 8. So if you go Larson, Hamlin, next highest projected goes Busher, Kez. Suarez, Stenhouse. Here's one for you. It goes so it goes Hamlin, Larson, Elliott, Keselowski, Stenhouse, Haley. And then obviously you could go off of Keselowski if you want to go down to like Priest or something. I don't have that many Keselowski lineups in right now. So I think I'm gonna roll with this one. You go, yeah, Larson. Larson, Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Justin Haley. Oh. All right, one more. One more with this Larson Hamlin start. I think I just saw one that I like. Larson Hamlin. This might be my favorite one. Chase Elliott, Chastain, Stenhouse, Ty Dillon. You have a lineup of Larson, Hamlin, Chess. Yeah, that's solid. I like that too. Do you think it'll be lower owned, Bell or Busher? I have Bell projected at 16%. And like I said, I think that's a little high. And I have Busher projected at under 10. So I think Busher's going to be lower owned. Larson over Byron. Man, it's a toss up. I think more people are going to be on Larson. So I do think he has the better car. Byron obviously has the track position to start with. I think they're pretty damn equal, to be honest with you. I think Larson dominates and Byron steals a win. That's certainly possible. It wouldn't be surprising at all. Love the Byron Larson stack this week. I don't think a lot of people are going to go that way. So that's a decent differentiator to roll with. It's just tough. Just because you're going with both the high price guys. Man, actually my second or one of my higher projected ones here goes Larson, Byron, Elliott, Chastain, Stenhouse, Cody Ware. So I think you're digging pretty deep if you go down to Cody Ware. But it's certainly possible to go with like a Keselowski there. And then maybe do a Herbst or Ty Dillon. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can go either way. And obviously going someone like a Priest opens up a ton of place differential there. I kind of want to go with the Ware one just to have a Cody Ware lineup. I don't see that taking down a tournament. Jesse Love is you could do something like that. Jesse Love is definitely. I have no interest in SVG today. I'm going to be honest with you. That car is so slow on intermediates, and he is. I'd rather stay away. You know, at that point, you're rooting for major attrition, and I don't have any interest in SVG. Jesse Love's an interesting one. I'm gonna roll with this one. Do a little Larson Byron stack here. Larson Byron, Chase Elliott. Got Chris Buescher, Stenhouse, and Jesse Love. I also want to make sure I have just pure place differential upside lineups. And I think, you go Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney. Let's go Ross Chastain here. Kez. Stenhouse. Yeah, so something like that, like a, Blaney, Reddick, Elliott, Kez, Stenhouse, Purdy, super chalky, but should be able to cash pretty easily. If you do like a Blaney, Logano, Elliott, I'm going to swap out Suarez for Priest here just because I have quite a bit. I guess I don't really have. I have the same amount. What if we did this? What if we do a little Penske stack here? Yeah, so if you do something like this, do a Blaney, Logano, Elliott, Cindric, Kez, and Stenhouse. I need more Blaney lineups before. Really bad projection on Custer, I do. Starting 20th, I just don't. You think of all the good cars starting behind him. So essentially you need an issue with them to happen. Yeah, I don't think Custer. I'd rather take my chances with some other guys than Custer. I know that's probably dumb, but I don't know. I don't trust Custer. Maybe out of 150, I'm going to have some exposure to him, but I'm perfectly fine not having any as well. So what if we did like a Blaney, Elliott, double punt with Cody Ware and Jesse No. I'm barely having any lineups with one of them in it, let alone two. No, you would need an insane amount of attrition there if you double punted. And this is Texas. This still isn't Daytona or Talladega. We're not going to get a big one. So, no. Nope. Blaney, Elliott, Chastain, Suarez, Bowman, and Hocevar. Yes, let's go Lundgaard for sure. I wish I would, Nick. I wish I would have listened to you on the Pelot over Kirkwood. By the time I went to bed, it was already they were qualifying, so I couldn't. But that looking at Indy odds this morning, that looks pretty damn good. This is a similar lineup to what I put in before. So before I had Larson, Blaney, Chastain, Kez, Priest, Stenhouse. I want that same one. I just want Suarez instead of Priest. All right, we got two lineups left. Get your questions in now if you have any. We got Byron, Blaney, Elliott, Priest, Stenhouse, Suarez. Any Bubba? I'm not landing on Bubba very much today. I could definitely see you getting there. I'm just not landing there right now. But I don't think he's an awful play at 8,600. Point per dollar wise, I have him right in the range of Stenhouse and Suarez, which is pretty good value today on my projection. So, yeah, with my 150, I'm definitely going to have a good chunk of Bubba. $152 extreme ownership cap. You mean top? I probably wouldn't go for any driver. I wouldn't go over 50 today for any one driver. Got one lineup left, and then I'm going to hop off of here. Like I said, hopefully this is just an entertaining race. I'm not quite sure what to expect. I'm not dead set on anything today. Just curious and interested to see how this all plays out. Again, it's going to come down to, what happens with Hocevar. How long does he lead at the beginning? Does he lead? Does Byron take it early? Does Larson take it early? Does Cindric jump up there and grab it early? Will anybody be able to pass, or will it all come down to luck and pit strategy? And if it does come down to, the pits, Penske doesn't have very good pit crews. Spires pit crews have not been good this year. Toyota pit crews have been really good, so I don't mind Toyota stack because of that. All right. Final lineup here. I'm going to go Larson, Elliott, Bowman, Chastain, Cindric, Stenhouse. Doing that Hendrick stack with Chastain and then Cindric for an early kind of surprise dominator there. But yeah, if you guys don't have any more questions, I'm going to hop off of here. Got a little bit under 2 hours until lock, so we still got quite a bit of time to get lineups in and to think of things. But if you don't got anything else, I'm going to hop off. As always, all of my stuff is on Rotoballer, rotoballer.com. Use code Jordan25. You're going to get 30% off. Subscription includes all of my exclusive content, all of my bets, my projections, everything every week. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the race today. Hopefully we're not on Wednesday talking about another disappointing or the fan base being disappointed for another week. It's been a little rough stretch of races here. So hopefully we get something good today. Yeah. Good luck to everybody today with your lineups. If you have any questions, shoot me a message on Twitter. Join my private DraftKings contest if you haven't already. The link is in the description of this video and in the comments there on YouTube. And yeah, good luck to everybody today. Enjoy the race. And we'll be back next week to talk about Kansas. See you guys.